Are you tired of beating Arena over and over again, looking for a new challenge? Maybe an Arena, but harder? Then I got just what you need. Welcome to Hard Mode Arena. It's just like Arena, but harder. A combination of Nightmare Mode and Arena designed specifically for endgame players. You're going head first into a stat check. Without the right heroes and damage, you won't be able to cheese your way through this one. However, you can make it doable by playing smarter. Lean into every relatively small advantage you can to push stages and grab those, well, mediocre rewards. But the rewards aren't the point. Hard Mode Arena is for pride. I haven't felt this sense of accomplishment since I first started playing HVH. So, to give you that same feeling of accomplishment, I'm going to walk you through everything that I did in order to clear Hard Mode Arena with 1 second left on the timer. By the way, I'm Coles, a high-level HVH player on the grind for 1,000 subscribers. So please join the other heroes if you find this content helpful. But for now, let's dive into the mechanics of the Hard Mode Arena and look for those small optimizations to help clear our path. Across between Nightmare Mode and Arena, you'll be introduced to a new set of modifiers along with a beefier set of Horde. You still cleared the stage by defeating 3,000 Horde within the 3-minute time period. But now, the timer is actually important, as I've lost several stages simply because I ran out of time. You'll bring over some standard arena mechanics, like having max level weapons and tomes every time you select them in the shop, so starting upgrades are going to be clutch here. And don't sleep on starting upgrades. I went full glass cannon the first several weeks thinking I needed to cap my damage, but it turns out you should push for some starting upgrades, and I'll explain more on that later. Currently, the exact same blessings and curses that come from normal got transferred over to Hard Mode Arena, but they're planning a fix for the ones that don't impact Hard Mode Arena, like instant kill. And unlike regular Arena, you're gonna actually have to pay attention to the blessings and the curses, because they're super important, which again, I'll explain in a minute. I'm doing so much foreshadowing right now. In addition to blessings and curses, you have these additional modifiers that they list in the game. 0.2 times to health regeneration, 0.2 times to evasion, override with a set movement speed of 9, no invulnerability, no instant kill, and for the first time I think I've seen anywhere, they actually say that the cooldown is capped at 40%. However, they didn't list all the modifiers. Number 1 is that you don't get movement speed tomes, so you can't get hero wang for the slow. Number 2 is you can't get health regeneration tomes, so you can't evolve Divine Aura into Vampire Aura. And number 3 is a small but important one. There's no shield power up. While the Horde are significantly beefier, they don't hit as hard like in Nightmare Mode, so you're gonna be getting hit by them, and you can shrug it off to a certain extent. Which will be important when you're trying to craft a strategy to beat this hideous hard mode. Before you even think about loading into Hard Mode Arena, you have to have this in mind. It's a stat check, so unless you have full mythic gear, you're not gonna have enough damage to clear the whole thing. But like other content in this game, if you have full heroic gear, this is going to be on farm. However, if you don't have mythic gear, go farm. See what I did? Skill only matters so much. If you don't have the right heroes and the right base damage, you just can't clear this content yet. That being said, I have found a bunch of small optimizations you can make in order to push to the next stage. I'll go over the smaller ones in detail later, but focus on these 3 most important optimizations. Number 1 is take advantage of the max level weapons in the shop. Because each weapon gets pushed to 5 and each tome gets pushed to 3, starting upgrades are very important. The first several weeks, I went full glass cannon trying to maximize my capped damage, but getting early in the run damage is actually more important. That makes Wizard Amulet an S+ tier item for this content, and Wizard Robe A+. I can see scenarios where you don't run the robe, but you always want to take the Wizard Amulet. That was my first bit of foreshadowing from earlier. And to complete the foreshadowing, you need to lean into the blessings and away from the curses. If the blessing is plus magical projectiles, then run Clockwork Mage and get weapons that have magical projectiles. If the curse is 0.75 times to AoE, get rid of all your AoE jewels and put in more critical strike jewels. Note that some of these curses will be incredibly backbreaking. There's one that's 0.5 times to damage and 0.75 times to area of effect. That one is incredibly hard. So skip it! You get 3 skips a week if you've cleared the stage up through level 15, just like in normal Arena. You want to strategically use these skips. It's much better to skip a curse that's incredibly difficult at like stage 11 instead of waiting all the way up until stage 13 when you might optimally use it in normal Arena. So make sure to look ahead at future curses and plan your skips accordingly. And I'll count that skip test as optimization 2.5 and give you my third most important optimization, which is try and stay at half HP. You have a talent that increases the damage you do by a percentage of missing health. You're trying to squeak out as much damage as you can here, so purposely getting yourself down to half HP will maximize your damage. Try and do this early in the run so you can clear out as many Horde as you can as fast as you can. That 3-minute timer is going to come into play if you don't have enough damage. The Horde hit like Nightmare mode, so let them swipe at you once, take some damage, and then back off. And then just pump as much DPS as you can, choosing the right hero in the process. The best heroes for hard mode arena are the ones from Nightmare mode that pump damage in addition to sustaining themselves. That makes Warlord the king of the arena when you get him forged and leveled up. I know from personal experience that you will cap out around stage 11 with a 4-star level Warlord with a 2-star forge. And then, when you get up to a 3-star forge, you can actually clear all of hard mode arena. I then found out that moving up from a 3-star forge to a 4-star forge makes it easy, in the sense that you're gonna have enough damage to clear the whole thing, and now it's just a matter of executing on your game plan going into the run. With a 5-star Warlord, you basically put it on Dog Josh mode, and you just stand there and do nothing and all the Horde go away. But each one of these little breakpoints matter, and you'll feel it a lot as you continue to progress and forge up your main hero. Before my Warlord could clear all of it in the last 2 weeks, I was using Clockwork Mage to push past stage 11 to stage 14. I have her at star level 3 with a 4-star forge. However, she's been super curse dependent in my experience, and she isn't able to clear any of the stages that have those reduction to damage multipliers when you get to certain thresholds. Her main weapon evolves off of cooldown tome, which is totally wasted in hard mode arena. And because each weapon shop is so important, particularly early, wasting a whole one to upgrade her weapon, while technically worth it, caps her potential damage much lower than some other heroes. Because her damage is capped like that, it's better to run uncapped, massive damage dealing heroes if you have them forged up. Something like a 5-star Artificer will be able to clear a significant amount of hard mode arena because he does so much damage. I don't have his forge at any level, but I was still able to clear a stage or two when the Clockwork Mage didn't have enough damage. And for reference, I have 5,824% damage on my stat screen, and I was getting stuck at chapter 14. I tried a 4-star Barbarian, I tried my Artificer, I even tried a 5-star Knight, none of which had enough damage at that point. They'd all either hit the 3-minute timer or just get overwhelmed by Horde eventually. Without personally performing the tests, I know that a 5-star Dark Paladin can push through all of hard mode arena at my same level. Kezerthorpe, he's the Dark Paladin main from Discord that you can never know how to actually say his name, but is pronounced Kezerthorpe in case you were wondering, has shown me that you can actually beat hard mode arena with a 4-star Dark Paladin at his 5-star forge. Therefore, I'd also wager that a 5-star forge Necromancer could also clear hard mode arena at my level. The pattern here is you're going to want a hero that's at your 5-star forge cap with at least star level 4. So choose from your specific roster of heroes that do the most damage and have the most stuns and slows, and then set them up with this gear. Gear prioritizes starting upgrades with throwing in as much damage as you can. That means you want to run something like Rogue Helm, Wizard Robe, Wizard Boots, Rogue Gloves, Wizard Amulet, and Wizard Ring. To me, the S+ tier pieces of gear that you need to run are the Rogue Gloves and the Wizard Amulet. You're going to need that crit multiplier from the gloves, and you're going to need those 2 starting upgrades from the Wizard Amulet. For the Clockwork Mage, you can consider swapping out the Wizard Chest and the Wizard Boots for, believe it or not, the Rogue Chest and the Rogue Boots. You're really trying to squeeze out as much damage as you can, and getting that Rogue set bonus can actually help you on the margins if you need it. With Warlord, you can switch out some of the gear to go a little more defensive, but you probably still want the Wizard set bonus. You could also, therefore, put in the Wizard Helm and the Ranger Chest in order to make sure that you get the exact weapons that you need throughout the entire run. And if you don't need the slow from the Wizard set, then you could also throw in Ranger Boots just for the additional physical projectile for Warlord. Oh yeah, and jewels. Jewels in Hard Mode Arena are going to be subject to the blessings and the curses to a certain extent. Remember, for most of you, you're going to need to do enough damage in order to clear the stage. So with that in mind, we're going as many offensive jewels as we possibly can. Vulnerability, ultimate duration, ultimate charge, and then I do add in weakness because you're going to be getting hit, and so that'll help you mitigate a little bit of the damage. I don't run regen like I do in Nightmare Mode. However, lean into the blessings and curses. If crit is disabled, don't use any crit. If AoE is reduced, substitute out some of your AoE jewels for critical strike jewels. And remember, these jewels are hero specific. I can't get into all the details now. Know that you don't take ultimate duration for someone like Warlord, and for someone like Artificer, don't put critical strike in, maybe use projectile speed. If you do have enough damage, then you should consider removing some of these damaging jewels for health regen jewels like in Nightmare Mode. And just like in Nightmare Mode, you do have some flexibility in the pets that you bring into Hard Mode Arena. Like everything else in our build so far, you're looking for some combination of offense and defense when you're choosing your pets. I typically say run your highest rarity pet with your next two highest rarity pets as your passives. And that pretty much holds now. I run a 500 Crystal Source along with a 300 Owl and a 300 Pyrocrankin. I personally do not like Ember Paw because of the way that the pets get stuck at certain entrances in Hard Mode Arena. The other option is to run your main pet and then as many snails as you can get away with. So in my latest runs, I've been doing a 500 Crystal Source with Owl and a snail. If you could run double snail, that's probably even safer. But again, you need to have enough damage to compensate for the lack of running a passive pet. So keep trying to find a balance between offense and defense while doing the most damage with your weapons. You have two options with weapons in my experience: the Were-Wizard and the Glass Cannon. The Were-Wizard build is my build from Nightmare Mode that has a lower cap on your absolute damage, but relies more on defense and status effect multipliers to do as much damage as you can. This has been my go-to build with Warlord in order to clear Hard Mode Arena the last 2 weeks. Armor Tome, Life Tome, Ice Wand, Damage Tome, 5-star Forged Mighty Borer, 4-star Forged Arcane Staff, Duration Tome, Duplicator Tome, and Poison Darts. At the end of the run, you'll see that only the Warlord's main weapon and Mighty Borer actually did any considerable amount of damage. Everything else was just there to act as a status multiplier for those two. You get poison from Poison Darts, burning from Arcane Staff, the slow from Mighty Borer and Arcane Staff, and the freeze from Ice Wand. The Armor Tome should get you to 90% armor in the stat screen, and then your goal is to stay below 50% HP as much as you can, which should be easier given your increased life pool from the Life Tome and the Snails, and all the additional armor for your effective HP. I also particularly like running Duration Tome because it increases the length of the Dragon power-up, the Rage power-up, and the Freeze power-up. Strategically using those when the elites spawn and saving them for those times is super helpful and another small optimization in the run. On the flip side, you can just go full Glass Cannon and do as much damage as you can. In that case, pick the weapons that give you the most damage. So for me, for something like Clockwork Mage, I still grab Ice Wand, but then I go CD Tome just for her in order to evolve our weapon. Again, 5-star Forged Borer, Area Tome, Damage Tome, Duplicator Tome, Bomb, Fire Orb, and Life Tome. That setup will look even better on somebody like Artificer, where you can swap out the CD Tome for Projectile Speed Tome in order to evolve his weapon. Unfortunately, I don't have very many special weapons. If you have Scrap Hammer, or Dynamite Slingshot, Smoke Bomb, Snow Globe, any of these forged up to 5-star Forge, or maybe even 4-star Forge, then you should start substituting those in for those other base weapons that I was mentioning. You know your set of damage items better than I do, so play with them to maximize your damage when you're going full Glass Cannon. You want to do anything that you can to squeeze out as much damage as you can, and kite a little bit longer. Which brings me to these final optimizations. Here are the last tips that I've learned over the last month and a half of clearing out Hard Mode Arena. When I first started, I had trouble getting past stage 5, and now I can comfortably clear out all 20 stages. The biggest difference is getting Warlord up to star level 4 and a 4-star Forge. But beyond that, here are some other ideas you can consider. The first is kiting. The kite pattern here is almost exactly the same as normal arena, where you're going to want to start in the middle and then kite to a corner. However, you want to do as much damage as you can to Horde along the way, and so try and find a spot between spawn points where you can make sure that all of your weapons are hitting all of the Horde. And in the same manner, you have to stick with your wingman. your pet is going to be your second or third highest damage dealing weapon. However, they're dumb, and they get stuck on the entrances to a lot of these horde spawns. So make sure to have them reset as best you can with you, and then stay with them. Many a time, Crystal Saurus's 5-second ability will clear out the horde and give you space to live. So rely on that to kite, or when your frozen orbs proc and all of the horde are frozen in order to run through them. And keep in mind the curses. This is the third time I'm saying to look at the blessing and curses, but it really is that important. Those small advantages will make a difference. I have cleared stages I couldn't by not paying attention to them, and then I could once I started paying attention. Which brings me to my final questions. Why in God's good earth are we doing any of this? At the end of the day, you're really only running Hard Mode Arena for pride points, because the rewards aren't that great. HVH is a grind, and every grind counts. In this case, over 52 weeks, you'll get 5,200 extra super tokens, which is super helpful. That's essentially a 4-star forge on a hero, but again, over the course of a year. The other nice benefit is that you can select between 3 different tokens each week. If the main token is one that you already have, or for a hero that you don't have, you can switch off to 2 other potential tokens. But those really aren't the reason why you're doing Hard Mode Arena, especially when you're right on the margin like I have been. It's because it's fun. And that's it. That's my guide to Hard Mode Arena. This has been about 5 or 6 weeks in the making as I've slowly grinded my way through, from originally not being able to clear something past like stage 8 to just barely beating all of Hard Mode Arena. I now feel confident that I can give you the tips and strategies you need to push as many stages as you can, given your gear set. This is a stat check. If you're not over something like 5,500% damage, you probably don't have enough yet to get through all 20 stages. And again, I'm Coles, I'm a high-level HVH player and part of a top 10 guild. You can ask questions here, on Discord, or on my website, hvhlounge.com, where you'll also find a written version of this guide. If you want priority answers to your questions, you can sign up for my Patreon, where you can become an executive producer. The executive producers of this video are Cake Invictus, Riverwind, and the Wubba. So please subscribe if you like the video, and remember, always do your adventures!